Isn't glass waiting on the table? Nobody remembers who poured it. The piano leans into three tight notes and lets them hang in the smoke. My coat still smells like the street. My hands still heavy from silence. I don't speak unless I need to. Tonight I don't need to speak. I carry it quiet, I carry it slow. No thunder in my footsteps, just weight in my bones. You won't hear me coming, you won't see me bend. I learned how to hold it and never pretend. The bartender wipes the same circle like he's erasing a confession. A match burns down to my finger. I let it finish its sentence. A man in the corner keeps watching, but doesn't want trouble tonight. He knows the kind that don't shout, or the kind that don't fight twice. I carry it quiet, I carry it low. The room keeps breathing, but time moves slow. No need for proving, no need to defend. I stand in the shadow and let it descend. There's a train somewhere past midnight, dragging steel through the distance. Reminds me of roads I left and debts that follow my name. I never chased after glory, I never begged for a crown. I just kept walking forward while everything else burned down. I carry it steady, I carry it deep. A promise I made, I don't break, I keep. No fire for show, no flag in the wind, just calm in the pressure, and I am within. The band barely touches the rhythm, just bass and a whisper of brush. The night folds over the window like velvet pulled over a hush. Someone laughs and stops halfway, like they remembered the cost. I nod to nobody in particular and settle the weight I broke. I carry it silent, I carry it clean. Nothing to bargain, nothing between. No need for mercy, no need to pretend. I hold to my ground until the end. Some men lean on anger, some drown in the noise. I learned from the stillness, it sharpens the voice. The darker the hallway, the clearer I carry it quiet, I carry it strong. The night keeps turning, I move along. No sound behind me, no need to explain. I stand like a shadow that outlives the rain. The piano gives up its last breath. The lights dim without warning. I leave the glass where it is and step into the morning. No witnesses needed, no story to tell, just footsteps fading and silence held well. Footsteps echo on wet cobblestone. A glass of regret warms my hand, and the night hums a tune I don't own. Smoke rings and shadows creeping slow, whispers in the dark, only we know. Mafia nights and bourbon soaked blues, the kind of music that owns your shoes. Cigarette ash drifts like fading dreams. The piano moans and the bass screams. Every corner hides a secret you sold. In this lounge, the lost heart breathes. Smoke rings and shadows creeping slow, whispers in the dark, only we know. Morning nights and bourbon soaked blues, the kind of music that owns your shoes. Leather chairs sigh beneath tired bones. Velvet curtain swallow soft moans. The muted trumpet cries from afar. Every note is scar, every chord a star. Smoke rings and shadows creeping slow, whispers in the dark, only we know. Mafia nights and bourbon soaked blues, kind of music that haunts your shoes. Clock hands drip like old molasses. Fingers trace the grooves of worn out glasses. Stories traded in half-lighted rooms. creeping slow. Whispers in the dark, only we know. Mountains and nights and bourbon soul blues. The kind of music that haunts your shoes. The streets are slick and the rain conspires. Matches strike sparks that fan on fires. We dance with ghosts in a lowly trance. Every glance a gamble, every breath a chance. The smoke rings and shadows creeping slow. Whispers in the dark, only we know. Mafia nights and bourbon soul blues. Kind of music that haunts your shoes. The shutter, pull one more slow. Let the sax whisper secrets we'll never show. The night exhales, the city sighs, and the lounge keeps our sins alive. Rain traced quiet signatures along the glass. The room held its breath around a single lamp. My coat carried the weight of older evenings. Ash settled like unspoken decisions. Streetlight flickered across a folded newspaper. Somewhere a clock refused to hurry. I kept my hands steady round cooling porcelain. Let the silence decide what stayed buried. Low music under dimmed reflections. Footsteps softened by private weather. Eyes lowered not from surrender, but from measuring every entrance. Nothing asked, nothing explained. A calm carved out of pressure. This soundtrack belongs to guarded hearts walking carefully through judgment. Neon leaked on the wet pavement outside. A taxi rolled past without urgency. My shadow leaned longer than intended. Smoke curled into deliberate shapes. A photograph face downward on the table. Edges worn by quiet reconsideration. I studied the grain of dark wood, counting breaths instead of conclusions. Muted chords beneath heavy ceilings. Movement deliberate, never hurried. Voices fade before reaching distance. Thoughts arranged with precision. No confession offered to strangers. No defense prepared in advance. Only a measured rhythm persists, carried beyond expectation. And I gather like ink across rooftops. An empty chair held its composure. The glass reflected someone older. Lines drawn by unsent letters. Footsteps echoed
sounded more certain. I folded hesitation into my pocket, left it beside the door without ceremony. Dark brass tones, breathing intervals, composure resting behind lowered brim. No spectacle, no declaration, only presence shaped by distance. Judgment circles without landing. The air remains disciplined. This melody walks beside restraint, unseen, deliberate, enduring. Fog moves slowly through alley corners, street signs whispered unfamiliar routes. My reflection fractured in rainwater, then settled into steadier outlines. Cold wind carried fragments of laughter. None of it followed me home. I adjusted the collar against weather, let the pavement memorize my steps. Subdued piano under hollow skies, confidence without announcement, glances pass without permission. Stillness answers every question, scars hidden beneath tailored silence, weight balanced without display. This arrangement favors solitary figures who never bargain with approval. Midnight leaned against the skyline, a distant train stitched the horizon. I closed the lighter with quiet intent, smoke dissolved into patient darkness. No verdict written in the margins, no witness waiting at the end. Only breath aligning with tempo and footsteps dissolving behind me. Deep tones hum beneath restraint, calm held tighter than memory. Eyes forward through filtered rain. No apology offered to echoes, measured strength without witness, composure framed by distance. This playlist belongs to steady men, walking untroubled through judgment. The lamp faded before morning arrived. The chair remained angled toward nothing. Street noise softened into absence. I left without disturbing the shadows. Rain threads the neon into fractured reflections. Midnight rest heavy on polished shoes. A cigarette burns without urgency. Glass sweats beside an untouched confession. Streetlight flickers against a quiet jawline. Footsteps dissolve before reaching the corner. Memories sit folded in a coat pocket. Silence keeps better company than promises. Low record spin beneath dim lamps. Lessons linger inside unfinished sentences. Hearts measured like careful handwriting. Distance chosen with deliberate calm. No sudden movements toward fragile ground. Time held firmly behind steady eyes. Soft music guards a disciplined pulse. A gentleman listens, then withdraws. Fog settles across an empty platform. A watch ticks louder than passing trains. Letters remain unsent in the lining. Faint perfume drifts through fading smoke. Hands rest still against worn leather. Street rain darkens the edge of thought. Shadows stretch along vacant windows. A calm breath steadies uncertain weather. Low record spin beneath dim lamps. Lessons linger inside unfinished sentences. Hearts measured like careful handwriting. Distance chosen with deliberate calm. No sudden movements toward fragile ground. Time held firmly behind steady eyes. Soft music guards a disciplined pulse. A gentleman listens, then withdraws. Cold air settles across empty chairs. An echo leans against the ceiling. Curtains sway without invitation. Moonlight rests on untouched glass. Old laughter fades along hallway walls. A key turns slower than before. Scars hidden beneath tailored restraint. Quiet endurance replaces intention. Low record spin beneath dimmed lamps. Lessons linger inside unfinished sentences. Hearts measured like careful handwriting. Distance chosen with deliberate calm. No sudden movements toward fragile ground. Time held firmly behind steady eyes. Soft music guards a disciplined pulse. A gentleman listens, then withdraws. Night streets glisten beneath muted traffic. A taxi passes without recognition. Breath fogs the edge of composure. A match flares, then disappears politely. Reflections fracture along puddled asphalt. Steps continue without destination. Old doubts remain carefully contained. Stillness frames a deliberate posture. Low record spin beneath dimmed lamps. Lessons linger inside unfinished sentences. Hearts measured like careful handwriting. Distance chosen with deliberate calm. No sudden movements toward fragile ground. Time held firmly behind steady eyes. Soft music guards a disciplined pose. A gentleman listens, then withdraws. No collapse beneath quiet discipline. No appeal toward passing warmth. A measured gaze studies distance. Patience shapes the outline of resolve. Fragments settle into controlled breathing. Time answers without speaking. Composure becomes second nature. Loneliness walks beside refinement. Low record spin beneath dimmed lamps. Lessons linger inside unfinished sentences. Hearts measured like careful handwriting. Distance chosen with deliberate calm. No sudden movements toward fragile ground. Time held firmly behind steady eyes. Soft music guards a disciplined pulse. A gentleman listens, then withdraws. fades along empty avenues. Smoke dissolves into patient night. Footsteps carry restrained conviction. Silence closes the final measure.
Rain leaned sideways against the window panes. Streetlight flickered like a tired confession. Ash settled quietly beside the glass. Clock hands dragged through a heavy evening. Suit jacket folded across the chair back. Leather creased with unspoken mileage. A record turned without urgency. Dust moves slow through dim lamplight. Footsteps faded beyond the hallway. Nothing asked for explanation. Low brass breathing beneath the ceiling. Muted piano pacing the silence. A voice inside kept measured distance. Holding ground without announcement. Storms passed without introduction. Night stretched but never conquered. Stillness carried deliberate weight. Calm stood taller than exhaustion. Taxi lights bled across wet pavement. Footprints softened under drifting mist. A collar lifted against the cold. Keys turned slowly in a quiet lock. Rooms smell faintly of cedar smoke. Paper stacked with unfinished thoughts. Telephone dark on polished wood. Curtains half drawn against memory. Shoes placed carefully by the door. Nothing chased what already left. Oh, low brass breathing beneath the ceiling. Muted piano pacing the silence. A voice inside kept measured distance. Holding ground without announcement. Storms passed without introduction. Night stretched but never conquered. Stillness carried deliberate weight. Calm stood taller than exhaustion. Glass reflected in unfamiliar patient scars. Rested beneath tailored lines. Whiskers circled amber gravity. Ice shifted like distant footsteps. Wind traced patterns along brick walls. Elevator cables hum below. Street empty beyond the crosswalk. Hat brim shadowed steady eyes. Breath slowed into discipline. Silence chose not to argue. Low brass breathing beneath the ceiling. Muted piano pacing the silence. A voice inside kept measured distance. Holding ground without announcement. Storms passed without introduction. Night stretched but never conquered. Still
cinnamon blocks, strength walked without display. Low brass breathing beneath the ceiling, muted piano bass in the silence. A voice inside kept measured distance, holding ground without announcement. Storms passed without introduction. Night stretched but never conquered. Stillness carried deliberate weight. Calm stood taller than exhaustion. Nothing begged for repair, nothing pleaded for light. The quiet held its structure, steel hidden beneath the linen. Breath counted the distance between memory and motion. Night listened without judgment. Resolve moved without noise. Subdued horn circling patience, piano carrying quiet gravity. Composure carved deliberate lines. Shadow frame, discipline, posture. Weight settled but never anchored. Distance sharpened in a balance. Calm shaped the empty air. Presence remained unbroken, raised into softer echoes. Lamp dimmed over worn leather record, slow toward stillness. Smoke faded into ceiling shadows. Morning waited beyond curtains. Chair left slightly angled. Footsteps moved toward gray streets. The silence followed, loyal.
Street lights hum like distant machinery of thought. Midnight rest heavy on the shoulders of brick buildings. My footsteps measure time, no clock bothers to hold. The Coke collar lifts against a tired wind. Neon flickers and settles into quiet agreement. I pass shuttered windows that remember warmer evenings. Pavement glistens with stories no one claimed. Silence follows, discipline deliberate. These songs move slow through guarded rooms. Low brass breathing under dim ceilings. Notes settle where laughter forgot the address. Measured chords keep the pulse from wandering. No applause, only steady endurance. Melodies built for men who endure quietly. Every bar holds weight without asking. A soundtrack for composure under strain. Rain draws thin lines across a vacant boulevard. Taxi headlights dissolve into misted distance. My reflection fractures in a darkened storefront. An old scar tightens when the temperature falls. Somewhere a radio leaks muted confession. I pause listening without turning my head. The air tastes faintly of tobacco and memory. Nothing requests attention, everything remains. These songs move slow through guarded rooms. Low brass breathing under dim ceilings. Notes settle where laughter forgot the address.
Measured chords keep the pulse from wandering. No applause, only steady indoors. Melodies built for men who endure quietly. Every bar holds weight without asking. A soundtrack for composure under strain. A chair waits in a room above the street. Dust drifts like restrained conversation. I pour amber into a thick bottom glass. The surface trembles, then steadies again. Records lean against one another like confidants. Needle descends with careful authority. The first tone arrives without urgency. Evening deepens, composed and exact. These songs move slow through guarded rooms. Low brass breathing under dim ceilings. Notes settle where laughter forgot the address. Measured chords keep the pulse from wandering. No applause, only steady indoors. Melodies built for men who endure quietly. Every bar holds weight without asking. A soundtrack for composure under strain. Fog presses gently against the balcony rail. City breath moves below, indifferent yet constant. I stand without need an explanation. Hands resting still, deliberate posture. Distant siren fades into patient night. The glass empties with discipline restrained. Thoughts align like shoes beside the door. Morning remains a negotiation. These songs move slow through guarded rooms. Low brass breathing under dim ceilings. Notes settle where laughter forgot the address. Measured chords keep the pulse from wandering. No applause, only steady indoors. Melodies built for men who endure quietly. Every bar holds weight without asking. A soundtrack for composure under strain. Needle lifts, leaving the air undisturbed. Streetlight glow seeps through half-closed blinds. The night keeps its distance respectfully. I sit a while, unhurried, composed. Silence closes like a well-tailored coat.
Rain rides quietly across the windshield glass. Neon bleeds into a half-empty street. I sit where the light forgets my name. Coat folded like a habit I never dropped. Clock hands drift without permission. Smoke lifts then disappears without apology. The chair across from me stays unclaimed somewhere. A piano closes the distance slowly. This is a record for measured breathing, for men who speak in lowered tones, for nights that carry their own discipline, for hands that learn to steady alone. Every note walks beside the silence. Every pause knows exactly why.
Nothing here begs for forgiveness, it just holds the line and passes by. Street lamps hum over wet pavement. My reflection moves without conviction. A photograph curls inside my pocket, edges warm, smooth from indecision. Footsteps echo under iron balconies. Fog settles like a careful decision. I count the distance between passing headlights and leave the answers in suspension. This is a record for measured breathing, for men who speak in lowered tones, for nights that carry their own discipline, for hands that learn to steady alone. Every note walks beside the silence, every pause knows exactly why. Nothing here begs for forgiveness, it just holds the line and passes by. Smells faintly of old varnish. Curtains hold back reluctant dawn. Boots placed neatly near the doorway, as if departure already moved on. Scars settle beneath pressed cotton, invisible under practiced composure. I trace the grain along the tabletop and let the stillness offer closure. This is a record for measured breathing, for men who speak in lowered tones, for nights that carry their own discipline, for hands that learn to steady alone. Every note walks beside the silence, every pause knows exactly why. Nothing here begs for forgiveness, it just holds the line and passes by. Elevator cables whisper through steel, floor numbers blink without persuasion. A mirror studies my quiet posture, no witness required for observation. Keys rest heavy in my palm, metal cooled by long endurance. Outside the city exhales in fragments. I walk through it with careful assurance. This is a record for measured breathing, for men who speak in lower tones, for nights that carry their own discipline, for hands that learn to steady alone. Every note walks beside the silence, every pause knows exactly why. Nothing here begs for forgiveness, it just holds the line and passes by. Low strings drift beneath distant thunder, ash falls softly near the flame. Time moves slower around restraint, nothing here demands a name. A pulse remains beneath composure, steady as unbroken ground. Even shadows keep their posture when the last light settles down. Play this softly through the evening, let it settle in the bones, for men who keep their distance yet never abandon their thrones. Every chord stands without permission, every breath refuses disguise. No need for loud redemption, just quiet steel behind the eyes. The needle lifts without announcement, rain thins into silver lines. I leave the room exactly as I found it, but something holds between the lines. Street lights fade behind the corner, footsteps merge with passing air. The night keeps what I never offered and carries it somewhere.
grass sweating in a quiet man's hand. No one here asking questions tonight. Just a piano talking soft and low. Bartender wipes the same spot twice, like he's erasing somebody's name. I sit where the shadows don't move. Let the bass line carry the blame. Pour it slow, let the room stay heavy. No need for words in a place like this. Smoke hangs thick like old decisions. Every sip lands like a quiet rest. Gentlemen don't raise their voices, they just stare into the blue. Midnight walks in wearing silence, and the night pours another for you. Door swings once, then settles again. Heel steps measured, coat still damp. Two men nod, nothing exchanged, just history sitting between the land. Trumpet sighs from the back corner, like it's tired of telling the truth. Ash falls long from a forgotten cigar, and the jukebox whispers its proof. Pour it slow, let the room stay heavy. No need for words in a place like this. Smoke hangs thick like old decisions. Every sip lands like a quiet rest. Gentlemen don't raise their voices, they just stare into the blue. Midnight walks in wearing silence, and the night pours another for you. Neon flickers across the bottles, red light cuts through the dust. Someone laughs but it don't belong. Sounds like a man who forgot who to trust. Piano keys fall one by one, like coins on a closed down street. I lean back into the leather boot, let the quiet sit down with me. Pour it slow, let the room stay heavy. No need for words in a place like this. Smoke hangs thick like old decisions. Every sip lands like a quiet rest. Gentlemen don't raise their voices, they just stare into the blue. Midnight walks in wearing silence, and the night pours another for you. Clock don't tick, it just listens close. Time don't move in this kind of bar. Suit jackets hold their secrets tight, eyes burned in like a dying star. The band drifts deep into the pocket, brush drums barely leave a trace. I raise the glass to nobody and let the quiet show its face. Pour it slow, let the room stay heavy. No need for words in a place like this. Smoke hangs thick like old decisions. Every sip lands like a quiet rest. Gentlemen don't raise their voices, they just stare into the blue. Midnight walks in wearing silence, and the night pours another for you. No headlines, no sudden motion, just the hum of a guarded room. Footsteps fade into the hallway, like they're walking in a perfume. Bass holds low beneath the floorboards, trunk big bands, but never cries. Every man keeps his own weather. Behind those tired, steady eyes. Pour it slow, let the room stay heavy. No need for words in a place like this. Smoke hangs thick like old decisions. Every sip lands like a quiet risk. Gentlemen don't raise their voices, they just stare into the blue. Midnight walks in wearing silence, and the night pours another for you. Last glass breathe on the table, piano down to just one note. Neon dies across the bottle, night unbuttons its dark coat. Door clicks shut without a witness, street stays cold and painted blue. Whiskey lounge keeps what it's given, and the silence follows you. Midnight breath settles along the window pane. Street light flickers, carved lines across my hands. An untouched glass holds yesterday's silence. The clock drifts slow like it's afraid to speak. A leather chair remembers every decision I buried. Footsteps outside fade before reaching my door. A coat hangs heavy with unfinished winter. Smoke lifts to folding secrets into the ceiling. This is the sound of a heart kept measured. Low notes walking through abandoned hours. Steel in the spine, quiet in the eyes. Rain writes letters no one sends. A gentleman stands where echoes gather, carrying weight without asking mercy. Every scar tuned to a code of rhythm, a playlist built from surviving alone. Neon reflections tremble across wet pavement. My shadow stretches farther than intention. Taxi headlights slide past like forgotten chances. Gloves hide the trimmer time once taught me. The night clerk nods without curiosity. Keys ring softly behind polished brass. I pass the mirror and keep moving. No introduction needed for old ghosts. This is the sound of a heart kept measured. Low notes walking through abandoned hours. Steel in the spine, quiet in the eyes. Rain writes letters no one sends. A gentleman stands where echoes gather, carrying weight without asking mercy. Every scar tuned to a code of rhythm, a playlist built from surviving alone. Fog leans close to borrowed sidewalks. Street signs whisper directions I ignore. A distant train fractures the stillness. My breath turns visible then disappears. Pockets hold fragments of erased conversations. The wind rearranges unfinished thoughts. Some doors close with deliberate patience. I learn the language of restrained departures. This is the sound of a heart kept measured. Low notes walking through abandoned hours. Steel in the spine, quiet in the eyes. Rain
writes letters no one sends. A gentleman stands where echoes gather, carrying weight without asking mercy. Every scar tuned to a colder rhythm, a playlist built from surviving alone. Morning refuses entry through drawn curtains. Dust drifts like memory without permission. Shoes rest angled toward another departure. Ink dries beside a folded intention. Walls absorb conversations never spoken. The radiator hums in distant agreement. I straighten cuffs with deliberate calm. Time waits patient as an old rival. This is a sound beneath controlled breathing. Deep chords pacing the edge of daylight. Composure worn like tailored armor. Cold air sharpening every decision. A solitary figure outlasts the weather. Strength spoken through deliberate stillness. Old wounds arranged into discipline. A playlist written for walking forward. Footsteps dissolve into widening streets. Smoke thins against the pale horizon. The chair remains facing the wind.